Leading Men Fiber Arts is a love story. It's a love story of Steve loving yarn and his passion for yarn and knitting. My passion is trying to help him succeed in his passion and to make it a business. We took $500, which is all the money we've ever put in our business, and we bought our first set of pots and pans and dies, and I've just watched him work his butt off ever since.
With our yarn, first and foremost, you're getting a work of art in one skein. So you know with our company that every skein of Leading Men Fiber Arts has been personally dyed, handled, and touched by Andy or myself. With hand dyeing, it's going to have a little bit of some lighter areas and some darker areas as well. And when you work with that yarn and you knit it up or you crochet it, you're going to get highlights and lowlights in the fabric, and that gives your piece movement, which is something that people who are looking to make things with hand-dyed yarn, they want that added little pizzazz that it is, that people will stop and take a second glance because they're starting to see some subtlety in colors. I think for makers, the feeling of yarn running through our hands, or prepping fiber or spinning fiber and making it into yarn, you're not just making something, but you get that tactile feel. And people who are really doing this and doing it a lot, and they knit or crochet or make every day, they want something soft. They want those different feels like silk and cashmere and merino. They're not just getting that tactile, but it's also the visual, because you get the color running through your hands as well. A lot of makers will say, I live for that little pink speckle in that yarn. Every time it pops up, I just get this spark of joy. We hear that all the time. And it's so funny how just one little minuscule thing brings somebody joy and happiness. I think that's why we do what we do and why we continue to be successful, is because we love sparking that joy and creativity with people that we get to meet. The process of starting to dye yarn starts with the yarn itself, and we prep the yarn by getting it wet and soaking the yarn with water. And what that does is it allows the dyes to permeate into the actual fibers and allows the dye to then disperse across the yarn. We prep our different types of dye pans. We have different shapes to get different dye techniques. And in the water that we put in those pans is where the citric acid goes. And that is the agent that actually bonds the dye to the yarn. We use professional acid dyes. We will then apply the dye powder either onto the pan, or we have a variety of different techniques that we do. And then it's got to heat up. So it's got to cook. It's got to get to a certain degree to where that citric acid will adhere the dye to the fibers, and then it's got to cool down, and then we got to rinse it, and then it hangs up to dry. And then it comes upstairs and it works with our studio assistants, who will then use machines to twist the yarn, make it look really pretty, hide all the ties that keep the yarn in a big loop. And they will label it and then put it out on our shelves or get it ready for our wholesale clients. With going full-time with the business, I felt a sense of security in myself. I stopped doubting myself and worrying so much about what other people think. I think a lot of us have that crux in our personality, and I still do, but allowing me the freedom to be successful with our business and what we created gave me a sense of confidence in what we were doing was the right thing. And so I try to bring that confidence to what we represent here in Central Illinois, and provide a voice to those who may not feel like there is a loud enough voice here.
Clinton has been our home for the last 15 years. We've lived here before we opened a business, and like most small towns, our downtown has suffered. Us putting this on the square in Clinton is also us planting our flag as two gay men in rural Illinois, and that we're not afraid to live our lives how we want, and we've been very open about it, but we also feel that we need to bring people back into downtown. And so since we've opened our business, we've had several other businesses. Next door we have a fish store. We have a boba tea shop now and an ice cream. So in the last 5 years, seeing our town, people investing their own time and their own money into these buildings to help revitalize our small town and to make Clinton maybe a little weird, a little different, a destination for people to want to come see hand-dyed yarn in central Illinois, you know, or buy a tropical fish. Steve is very dedicated and determined, and that's what drives our business. He's the one who's pushing us to expand in all ways, and try to grow our business and grow our community. For me, I don't have the passion of yarn since I don't knit, I don't crochet. It's not something that's ever appealed to me, but seeing his dreams come true appeals to me. This gave us a topic to focus on. What are we working on for our business? How are we growing our business? We are truly a love story. Without us being together, this doesn't exist, and it can't be done separately.